The cry beneath the sun. The desert was cruel that afternoon, a burning sea of gold that shimmered and danced under the relentless sun. Dust swirled around the hooves of a lone horse as a tall cowboy guided it along a half-forgotten trail. His name was Cole Tanner, a wanderer with sun-scorched skin and a heart that had long since learned to live without softness. He was riding toward the dry canyon when he heard it, faint at first, like the wind crying through the rocks. "Help! Please, help my mama!" Cole pulled on the reins, his horse snorting as it came to a halt. He lifted his hat, squinting toward the voice. A small figure stumbled out from behind a boulder, a child, no older than 8, her face streaked with tears and dust. She wore a torn buckskin dress, and her dark braids hung limp over her shoulders. "Please," she sobbed, pointing toward the ridge. "They tied my mama to a rock. She's gonna die in the sun." Cole's gut twisted. He dismounted without a word and crouched beside her. "Easy now, darlin'. Who did this to your mama?" "The men from the fort," she choked out. "They said she's Apache. They said she's a spy. But she's not. She just came for water." Cole's jaw clenched. He'd seen what fear and ignorance could do, how soldiers treated those they didn't understand. He looked toward the ridge. Heat waves blurred the horizon, but he could see something dark against the rocks. "Stay behind me," he said, his voice low and steady. "We'll get her free." The climb was steep, the air heavy with heat. The child followed close behind, her small footsteps crunching in the sand. When they reached the ridge, Cole saw her, the woman. She was bound tightly to a slab of stone, her wrists raw where the ropes had bitten into her skin. Her head hung forward, long black hair plastered to her face with sweat. Her lips were cracked, and her breathing came in shallow gasps. Even in that state, she was striking, proud features, strong jaw, and eyes that flickered open when Cole approached. "Apache woman," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "You shouldn't help me." Cole knelt beside her, ignoring the warning. "You're gonna live, ma'am. That's what's gonna happen." He took out his knife, the same one he used to cut through wild horse rope, and sliced the bindings. The child ran forward with a cry, wrapping her little arms around her mother's waist as the woman slumped into Cole's arms. "Easy," he murmured, holding her steady. "You're safe now." The woman's gaze met his, dark eyes clouded with pain, yet burning with defiance. "Why?" she managed to whisper. "Why would you help an Apache?" Cole hesitated, his eyes scanning the empty desert. "'Cause no one deserves to die like this. Not under God's sun." He carried her to a shaded hollow beneath the rocks and poured a trickle of water from his canteen against her lips. The child watched, clutching her mother's hand. "What's your name, little one?" Cole asked gently. "Taya," she replied. "My mama's name is Naira." Cole nodded. "Pretty names, both of them." Naira opened her eyes again, focusing on him with effort. "They'll come back," she said weakly. "The soldiers. They think I spied for my people." Cole's hand paused on the canteen. "And did you?" She gave a faint, bitter smile. "I only fetched water for the old ones. For the children. But that's crime enough now." He glanced toward the open desert. He knew the soldiers would be back, and soon. If they found him with an Apache woman, tied or untied, they'd shoot first and ask later. Cole sighed. "Then we best get movin'. I ain't plannin' on explainin' this to men who don't listen." He helped her onto his horse, her small frame leaning against him for support. Taya clung to his side, tears drying on her cheeks. As the sun dipped lower, the three of them rode through the whispering dunes, a cowboy, a woman once condemned, and a child who'd refused to give up hope. And though Cole didn't know it yet, this rescue under the burning sun was the beginning of something that would change his life forever. Under the same sky. Night came slow and heavy over the desert. Cole Tanner's small campfire crackled beside a cluster of red rocks, its faint light pushing back the darkness. Crickets sang somewhere in the dry grass, and the air smelled of dust, smoke, and wild sage. Naira lay wrapped in a blanket, her breathing steadier now. The little girl, Taya, slept with her head on her mother's arm, her tiny fingers clutching the edge of the blanket. Cole sat a short distance away, sharpening his knife, pretending not to look at them, though his thoughts hadn't left them since the sun went down. He'd freed plenty of men and beasts in his lifetime, but never someone like her. There was something proud in the Apache woman's silence, even in pain, like the land itself had shaped her. After a while, she spoke softly without opening her eyes. "You should not have stayed, Cowboy." Cole stopped sharpening. "And leave you here for the coyotes?" Her lips curved faintly. "You risked your life for a woman your people hate." He poked the fire with a stick. Sparks rose like tiny stars. "I don't reckon hate's something a man's born with," he said. "It's taught. I stopped learnin' it a long time ago." Naira turned her head toward him. The firelight traced her face, strong and beautiful beneath the grime. "Then you are a rare man, Cole Tanner." He tipped his hat slightly, half embarrassed. "Just a tired one." The chase. By dawn, the horizon blazed gold again. Cole was already packing the horse when he spotted the dust plume to the east. Riders. "Soldiers." "Time to move," he said quickly. Naira stood, still weak, but ready. She wrapped her daughter's shawl tighter around her shoulders. They rode through the dry ravines, the thunder of hooves echoing behind them. Taya clung to her mother, wide-eyed with fear. Cole led the horse through the canyon, its red walls closing in like a secret path known only to him. At last, they reached an old mining tunnel, half-collapsed, but deep enough to hide in. He helped Naira and Taya inside, then crouched by the entrance, watching the light. The soldiers' voices drifted faintly on the wind. "Tracks go this way. He's helpin' her. Tanner's ridin' with an Apache." Cole's jaw tightened. He could almost hear the accusation burning in those words. After an hour, the sound faded. He exhaled slowly, turning back toward them. Taya had fallen asleep again, but Naira was watching him, not with fear this time, but something softer. Trust, perhaps. Gratitude. "You risked more than your life," she murmured. "Your own kind will turn on you for this." He shrugged, dusting his hands. "Maybe I've been needin' someone to turn on me. Gives a man a reason to move on." The river. They traveled west the next few days, following a thin river through the canyons. Cole hunted rabbits, Naira gathered herbs. At night, Taya laughed again, a sound that filled the quiet more beautifully than any bird song. On the third evening, as the stars came out like scattered fireflies, Naira approached the fire and sat beside him. She handed him a piece of dried meat she'd cooked. "You're quiet," she said. He smiled faintly. "Ain't used to company. Especially the kind that talks sense." She laughed softly, a sound warm enough to chase off the desert chill. "And what sense have I spoken? That the world's been wrong about who it calls enemies." Her eyes glimmered in the firelight. "Your heart sees what your eyes refuse to hate." They sat in silence after that, listening to the water and wind. The stars above them seemed endless. Naira tilted her head back, her voice low. "My people say the sky remembers every soul who walks beneath it. When I was tied to that rock, I prayed the sky would remember my child, not me." Cole's hand tightened around his hat brim. "The sky remembered both of you," he said. "And maybe it sent me to remind you." Her gaze met his then, deep and steady. The air between them felt charged, not just with gratitude, but with something raw and real, something neither dared name. Taya stirred in her sleep, mumbling her mother's name. Naira reached to adjust the blanket around her daughter, and when she looked back, Cole was still watching her. Their eyes held for a heartbeat longer than it should have. The choice. By the sixth sunrise, they reached the edge of Apache lands, safe ground. The mountains stood tall in the distance, blue in the morning light. Naira stopped the horse and turned to him. "This is where we part, Cowboy." Cole dismounted slowly, nodding. "Guess it is." Taya slid down and ran to hug his leg. "Thank you, Mr. Cole." He smiled, kneeling to her level. "You take care of your mama, you hear?" "I will," she promised, eyes shining. Naira stepped closer. She hesitated, then spoke softly. "I owe you my life, my daughter's life. I can't repay that." He shook his head. "Don't need repayin'. Just live free. That's enough." She looked at him for a long moment, then reached out, her fingers brushing his calloused hand. "You may not believe this," she said, voice trembling slightly, "but the spirits will remember your kindness." He held her gaze, his heart heavier than he expected. "Maybe one day I'll ride back through here, see how you're gettin' along." "You would be welcome," she whispered. For a while, neither of them moved. The wind stirred her hair, carrying the scent of wild sage between them. Then she turned, lifted Taya onto the horse, and rode toward the mountains, sunlight catching her figure like a spirit fading into the dawn. Cole stood there, hat in hand, watching until the desert swallowed them from sight. The wind shifted again, warm against his face. He smiled faintly and muttered to himself,